Welcome back to What Do They Know podcast. This week, the guys will preview all the matchups for the wildcard weekend and review some of their best and their worst preseason predictions. But hey, what do they know?
What do they know? Well, we are about to find out. Welcome to the last regular season episode.
Yep.
Week 18 of season 2 on the What Do They Know podcast.
Yep.
Jeff is back from vacation.
I am back. Refreshed and better than ever.
Awesome. Perfect timing. So we have some playoffs to dive into. How was your vacation?
Oh, it was great. You know, anytime you can just get away from the responsibilities and the bills of your life, you can just relax, see some family is always a good thing to do during the holidays. So, I try to do it to make it a yearly thing. So being out there definitely is something I want to do continuously. But obviously that'll cost us a couple of weeks here and there, but it is what it is. Yep.
Worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. So I took the week of Christmas through New Year's Day off. So it was about 10 days off of work.
Nice.
And this is the first vacation that we've had where we didn't go anywhere.
Right.
I just stayed, and it was the most relaxed I've been in like a long time.
Right.
I left my work phone upstairs, didn't look at it, hung out with the kids, hung out with Christy, did whatever we wanted to do.
Yep.
If we wanted to go take a drive to look at Christmas lights, we did. If we wanted to just go to the store real quick, walk around Target, we did. Some mornings we would, turn the TV on for the kids, and we stayed in bed until 9 o'clock, which is unheard of.
Right.
During obviously having a normal job. So it was amazing.
Yes.
So it was nice to get refreshed.
It's definitely a change of pace.
Great.
Out there after my sister got and I were done doing the things we wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was just relax, watch some movies, watch some Netflix with the nieces and nephews. So that's what it's all about.
Yep, 100%. All right, enough of that crap.
Yeah,
we're diving.
We're past that. 2025.
We're diving into some football. All right, so we have a little bit of everything for you. We got a top story. We're gonna recap our preseason predictions now that the regular season is basically in the books. What divisions we got right, so on and so forth. We'll recap the playoff matchups that are set for next week. They literally just before we recorded this or started recording this, they announced the times for the games. So We'll go over that as well. So let's dive in and just do some top stories. What do you got?
Perfect. Yeah. Right now, obviously half or more than half of the NFL teams are now eliminated officially.
Yeah. 18 teams, I think, officially.
Yeah, 18
right?
teams, 14 teams make it in. So for those 18 teams, free agency and the draft are now on their foresight.
Yep.
Tennessee is the number one overall pick now, and that's my top story is definitely where is Tennessee going to go? Obviously, you still have Will Levis. I have it. I'd be really shocked if they still see a future with Will Levis there, or if they still want a bridge quarterback like Mason Rudolph, hang on to him for another year and see what happens next year. But Tennessee is now in the driver's seat. If they want to trade out of it, that's also a possibility, get more assets. But Tennessee has definitely been one of those franchises that just hasn't been able to get it right yet.
Yeah.
Regardless of the position. I feel like any position that they try to...
they even got it wrong at head coach.
Yeah. Shanahan.
Vrabel. They fired Vrabel.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go with it. Honestly, if I'm Tennessee, I'd probably trade out of it. Get as many assets as you can, because obviously they signed DeAndre Hopkins over the offseason just to give.
They traded him to Kansas City.
They traded him halfway, and they signed him just to give Will Levis some sort of security there at wide receiver, and that didn't work out.
They have Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley had a good year. Tony Pollard at running back had a pretty good year.
It just seems
that's really it.
Yeah.
It's those two guys that I can really think of off the top of my head. They don't really have a stud on defense. They Will Levis just made way too many mistakes.
He was a meme every week.
It's weird. This is a tough year, man. If you need a quarterback, I feel like this is a bad year. At least on paper, we're like the top tier QBs.
Right.
Like I was reading something earlier that said that if you put it, so the top two this year are Shedeur Sanders from Colorado and Cam Ward from Miami. If you were to put them in last year's quarterback draft, which is looking like it's going to be a phenomenal draft,
right?
what I read, I think it was from Diana Rossini on The Athletic. She said all the 4 or 5 GMs that she talked to put these 2 guys this year behind Bo Nix.
Oh yeah,
which was the last of the 4 or 5 quarterbacks to get drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
So they're like, if you compare it to last year, they're like mid 20s to like, early 20s to late their 30th pick in the first round.
Yeah, late round.
So they're like late first round picks. Where this year they're going to go probably in the top 5, both of them. So it's a tricky year to need a quarterback.
Yeah, this is what makes it the predicament so interesting for Tennessee. Obviously, you have a couple QB needy teams right behind you in Cleveland and New York.
Yep.
And the Giants. So whether you want to trade your pick to one of those teams just to get a little bit more draft capital.
Yep.
Because if you're not sold on either Shedeur or Cam Ward or anybody else that's coming out of this draft class for quarterbacks, I feel like Tennessee's best course of action is going to be definitely trade out of it. But,
yeah, I think the team that's sitting in the best position, honestly, is New England. Which is funny because going into today, and I'm going to talk about New England here in a minute, they had the number 1 pick. All they had to do was lose.
Right.
And they went and won. They won the game, so they went from having the first pick to now they have the 4th pick. But the reason I say they're in the best spot is because they're behind 2, arguably 3 quarterback needy teams, and they don't need a quarterback.
Right.
They have their quarterback figured out with Drake May. Everybody, is pretty much decided that he's the dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From what they've seen this year. So they can literally let these teams battle it out for these quarterbacks and take the best available player to kind of fit what they already have.
Right.
I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that like they'll take Travis Hunter.
Okay.
Quarterback, corner / wide receiver combo, obviously Heisman winner. So I think New England's on the best spot out of the top 5 teams. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely would have sat prettier at number 1.
Well,
because that's definitely
then you can trade out, like you're saying, and get a boatload of assets.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, knowing what the teams ahead of you are intending to do or are going to pick, that definitely dwindles down what you need, and you can focus on the best player available there instead of focusing on needs or whatever. Because obviously the heaviest position is quarterback, that's needy, but you're having that satisfied and knowing that you're good there for at least another year, it definitely takes load off, which obviously you want some continuity there in terms of your head coach. So I think I'll turn it over to you on that one.
Yeah. So my top story is the fact that we are not even done with Week 18 Sunday, and we've already had a coach fired with Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
So they win against the Bills today in a game that they arguably shouldn't have won.
Right.
Game ended between 4 and 4:30, and by 5:30 he was fired. So they wasted no time.
Yeah, that was
and to me, that only happens if Mike Vrabel is coming to be the head coach. There's because New England is a team that has their stuff together, right? They're not a dumpster fire with their ownership. Like, they don't make these rash, horrible decisions. They don't do the one and dones that they're doing now with Gerard Mayo. They don't do that.
Right.
He was handpicked to succeed Bill Belichick. He's kind of been waiting in the wings for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Everybody knew that he was the successor. So for them to fire him after 1 year, to me, there's only one explanation. And that's that Mike Vrabel's coming back. I read that he apparently has not a ton, but he has several good assistants that will be coming to him. That I've heard Josh McDaniel might be coming back as the OC. And so I think that to me, it's about as I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked if New England did this and then he doesn't end up going back there. To me, it just makes too much sense.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely. I mean, I feel like Gerard Mayo's definitely got the short end of the stick on this one for sure. To stick it out with Bill Belichick there, and all of a sudden just becoming a puppet there for your 1 year that's there. You obviously didn't get a fair shot. That roster that they accumulated there wasn't competitive enough. But in terms of still pulling out 4 wins and seeing the development of Drake May, making sure he progresses in the right direction for a franchise quarterback, I think he did the things you needed to do when you're rebuilding.
So it's so funny because I was literally just going to say he did what we always say that teams should do, and got screwed for it.
Yeah.
So he's someone else is going to reap the benefits of him making the right decision with Drake May.
Yeah.
So they announced Jacoby Brissett as their week 1 starter. Brissett played the first 6, 7, 8 weeks ish. Drake May got to sit and watch and learn, and then he came in and obviously showed strides throughout the entire season. So Gerard Mayo did that for him,
right?
And now got whacked because of it.
Yeah,
not because of it, but in spite of it. And now he's not going to be able to reap those benefits. And we always, at least on this show, we harp on teams that are too quick to throw in their rookie quarterback and not let him develop. Well, he actually did arguably what we believe to be the right thing, and is now not gonna reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, I feel like franchises start looking at their head coaches in the same way as their quarterbacks. Let them develop. Gerard Mayo is his first year head coach, first head coaching gig. Let him see what he does next year with a better roster. Drake May entering his second year, obviously changing up the coaching staff. That comes with the risk of maybe making Drake May take a step back. You never know if you start putting him in the wrong offensive system, and all of a sudden everything just gets shot all out of whack, and you're starting from scratch all over again. Drake May's a lost cause. He goes to another team, and all of a sudden you have another Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield in your hands. So it's one of those things where you wish the teams were a lot more patient and a lot more understanding of what the position you are in is going to do to you, to your fans right now. Like, yes, we're going to have some tough times this year, but 2-3 years from now, we should be back where we're used to, which is AFC Championship, Super Bowls, whatever. But Gerard Mayo, I feel like he definitely deserves another opportunity somewhere.
Yeah, so that's now the 4th official opening. We have the Jets, we have the Saints, we have the Bears, and now we have the Patriots. So on the flip side, we've already gotten a team that has taken their coach off the hot seat with the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah. Jim Irsay put out a statement that said that he has faith in Shane Steichen and the GM Chris Ballard. So this looks like they're going to be around another year. I know Steichen specifically was the name that everybody thought could potentially be let go just because of the disappointment in Indianapolis. But I'm sure tomorrow, and obviously by the time you're listening to this on Tuesday, there will be, I would say, probably 4 or 5 more openings, because everybody calls the Monday after the regular season Black Monday, because all the coaches and GMs and everybody get fired. So we'll see what happens there and what openings come up. But I mean, honestly, if I wouldn't even be surprised if by the time we finish this season, so by the time the Super Bowl, like Mike Vrabel is going to be announced as the New England Patriots head coach. Oh yeah, I would be absolutely dumbfounded if they did this and he's not the plan.
Yeah, I feel like Vrabel's going to be the first domino to fall in this offseason coaching carousel of trying to fill in your vacancies. And then after that, probably Aaron Glenn after Detroit either makes a run or gets eliminated in some step, and Ben Johnson. But Vrabel is definitely the best odds to be the first head coach hired.
Yep, I agree. All right, so the regular season is over, so we are going to recap what we got right and what we got wrong. So first, we're just going to do our actual division and playoff picks.
Yeah.
So we both, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much ended up the same results.
Yeah, I mean, we had some different teams in their field, but
same amount of correct.
Same amount of correctness, 50%, I think, across the board.
So what division? How many division winners did you get right, and who were they?
4. It was the Lions, the Eagles. Well, I mean, I guess one's still to be determined. Now that I think about it, the Lions and the Vikings.
Oh shoot!
Yeah. So we're like 3.5.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now that I
did the same exact thing.
Yep. Oh man, that's funny.
Dude, watch this hit by Van Ginkel. Defensive player of the year. Van Ginkel, actually. He just leveled
Gibbs.
Oof. Sideline.
Yep. That's rough. Ugh. And the last thing Detroit needs is another injury, I'll tell you that. But yeah, the Eagles, KC, and Houston, those three teams at least are certified division winners. Lions are up 7-0 right now, so if they win, that's four.
Yep.
And then overall, the Packers, Rams, and Baltimore were the other teams that I got right into the playoffs.
So that puts you at what, 6.5 out of 14, possibly? Well, no, because even the Lions are
the Lions are
in, so 7 out of 14.
Yeah, 7 out of 14 guaranteed.
So I'm the exact same.
Yeah.
So I got 3, possibly 4 division winners. I picked the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Lions, and Philadelphia. So 3, possibly 4, and then I got 7 total teams. So I also had Houston making it, Green Bay making it, and the Rams.
The Rams, okay.
Yeah, I picked the Rams to be one of the wild card teams.
Who'd you pick to win the AFC South?
So let's wait a little bit on that.
Okay.
Let's wait a little bit on that.
I was like, I'm trying to make it.
Actually, you know what? That's a great transition to best take, worst take. So the next part of this segment is we are just gonna lay into ourselves for a second. We're gonna give ourselves some props on what we got right going into the season, and then what we just failed miserably.
I could go all day on my worst takes.
Yeah. Right, so for me, I'll go just because it was a great transition by you. My best take was my prediction on James Cook.
James Cook.
I said I talked ad nauseum on our preseason show about what a good year I thought he was going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And he tied the Bills all-time record for 16 rushing touchdowns in a season. He tied O.J. Simpson for the Bills record that was set back in 1975.
Wow.
So I definitely got that one right.
Yeah.
And then my worst take was the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South.
That's wow. Okay.
I was convinced. I talked about them, thought that, Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson was going to have a breakout bounce back year.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way that you were going to keep them down. They were definitely a wild card team, but I picked them to win the division over Houston.
Mm-hmm.
No. So that was my worst take of the year for sure.
Yeah. See, it's kind of unfair because Houston, I feel like, is the worst division winner out of all of these teams, and especially between the Lions and Vikings, regardless of who wins.
Well, that was my thought process. If you remember, we talked about how we both kind of felt like, or maybe it was just me because I think
I was high on C.J. Stroud.
I did think that they were going to take a step back,
mm-hmm.
so that was part of my process. I just didn't think that Jacksonville was going to be so god awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a year in year out thing with the AFC South. Is there's one team that's mediocre, in terms of the rest of the NFL, but because the rest of the division is just so putrid, awful.
I would say they are the worst division winner.
Oh, absolutely.
I would put Tampa Bay ahead of them.
Absolutely.
I would put the Rams ahead of them.
Yep.
Who else is even left? I think that's really it.
Yeah.
There's no there. Yeah. I'd say they got to be the worst division winner.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
I agree with that. So my best take in terms of fantasy was Saquon Barkley. I said when we did our must-have, stay away sleepers, Saquon Barkley was my must-have. He was going around pick 10 or something in the first round, and honestly, I wanted to snatch him up in all.
I'm pretty sure I passed on him in at least one league. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The only running back that I was kind of higher than Saquon was Breece Hall.
Yeah,
but I just thought the Jets' offense was just going to be a lot better.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's not talk about the Jets.
Well, let's not. My worst take was the Jets and the Browns winning their division.
Oh God,
yeah. That's a 2 for 2 right there in terms of.
It's a really bad combination
of pain. So
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I feel like a lot of people pick those teams to be good.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like you went out on a limb and just got it completely wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns coming off last year, they felt like they were finally turning that franchise around in a good way. But Deshaun Watson is just not there, I guess, in terms of mentally or physically, even at this point in his career. I don't know where the Browns go from here, to be honest with you.
They're in the worst position ever.
Yeah.
Even with the second pick in the draft, they're screwed.
Yeah. I have no idea where they go from here. And then the Jets, obviously, it just derailed from the beginning, and it is what it is. I won't lay into them too much.
You can.
No, I'm okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm okay. In terms of fantasy, I had Justin Jefferson as stay away from simply because of Sam Darnold. I did not trust Sam Darnold for the life of me. Obviously, 14-2, Sam Darnold has proven to be more than capable of getting Justin Jefferson the ball, because I think Justin Jefferson is second ranked receiver in fantasy or something.
Yeah.
So definitely a bad take on that one.
Yeah. So real quick, if we're going to talk about specifically fantasy takes, I already told you this one, but my whole NFC West take was like spot on. I went and read it back. So like my must have was Kyron Williams for the Rams. He had an amazing year. If you guys all remember, my stay away, which was at the time very controversial,
number one overall pick,
was Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
I said, I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole. There's no way he's not going to be healthy again, or there's no way he's not going to get injured again. I just don't trust him. And sure enough, the dude played 3 weeks. And then my sleeper was Trey McBride, the Pro Bowl tight end for the Cardinals, who had an unbelievable year.
Yeah, he had a lot of reception, a lot of yards.
Yeah.
He didn't get a touchdown until last week?
2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, but he had another one today.
Yep.
So I definitely got my fantasy predictions with that division.
Absolutely
spot on.
Yep. Yeah, in terms of tight end production, that's definitely a huge upgrade. Just knowing your tight end is going to have that volume.
Yep. All right. Well, like you said, we could go on and on about some pretty poor takes.
Yeah, my worst takes are.
I think
definitely outnumbered.
that's good enough for now. So.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson.
Hey, stay away from him.
Right in stride. All right. So we're going to add something in that we didn't do last year, but actually really like this idea is awards.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, right, these are all regular season awards and aren't decided by the playoffs,
right?
Which I don't know how much I believe that. But we're just going to give our own takes on some end of the year awards.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, what do you want to do first? You want to do you want to save MVP for last? You want to go first with that?
We can save it for last.
Okay. So I will start with offensive player of the year.
Okay.
Who do you got?
Saquon. I went with Saquon on that one.
Okay.
Because it's just I feel
how
like
can you not?
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Let me change my answer.
Let me change my answer.
I wrote Joe Burrow.
Did you?
I wrote Joe Burrow just because I said last week that if they had made the playoffs, he would be my vote for MVP.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to have him in there as offensive player of the year just because of the season that he had, the way, but as soon as I don't know why I didn't think about Saquon. I feel like he's gotta be.
Yeah. In terms of MVP and offensive player of the year, I felt like I had more of argument to I guess argue against myself, to be redundant. But I felt like more of a conversation for offensive player of the year than MVP.
Yeah.
I feel like we always try to blend the two in together in some way, and if one wins the MVP, one has to win offensive player of the year, which doesn't have to always be the case.
Yeah.
I feel like offensively, Saquon Barkley has done everything to transcend that offense, that Eagles offense, to what it should have been last year, and what it can be. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are definitely they're not as much of a focal point, and I feel like they've kind of accepted the rules because Saquon Barkley ran for 2,000 yards, and you kind of have to accept the fact that you have an all-star, superstar running back, and that's going to be your bread and butter going into the playoffs. So in terms of these other quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, I felt like they were more of a MVP conversation rather than offensive player of the year conversation, where I feel like Saquon is just better there.
It's funny that you say that you framed it that way, because I was talking with Justin, my brother-in-law, who's a big Bills fan. And I told him, I said, if Joe Burrow make the playoffs, he's my MVP. And he, we were going back and forth, and he was like, well, why not just have him as the offensive player of the year? Right. And my response was, well, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. Because to your point, a lot of times it gets blended together as the same thing. And it's a good conversation.
Yeah. And sometimes it can blend in, or it almost becomes like a consolation prize to the MVP. You put up better numbers and this is how we'll respect you, but you didn't. The thing with me is MVP is, like we've discussed before, if you take them off the team, what are they? What's the team? And I feel like I don't want to spoil who my MVP is right now, but if you take off this person, I just don't see this team being where they are right now.
Yeah.
But in terms of Saquon Barkley, I just feel like he had better offensive production for his position, especially relative to everyone else in that position. Derrick Henry is a close second there, and he put up impressive numbers, especially for how many miles he has on those tires right there.
Yeah.
But Saquon is just transcended that Eagles offense for me.
Okay, I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was.
Oh, I just changed your answer
you got me
on air.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, defensive player of the year. This one was a little tricky for me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do some research, and just because I'm somewhat familiar with this player, I go ahead. Go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. Well, no, we I think we both looked up articles to see where it is, because this is, let's admit, this is the offensive show. We focus on offense a lot. Defensively, there's definitely a lot of players who escape our viewpoints, because this is an offensive driven league. It's offense that drives the ratings and the highlights. But in terms of defensive player of the year, it usually goes to the sack leader.
Yep.
And this year it was Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, I've been.
I almost wrote him. Is that who you wrote down?
I wrote Trey Hendrickson simply because he's a former Saint. He's an ex-Saint.
He has like 16 and a half sacks. Or 17 and a half. 17 and a half, yeah.
Yep. He's a former.
It's so funny. I almost wrote him down.
13. He was a former third-round pick for the Saints.
He got 3 sacks last night.
Yeah,
against the Steelers.
Yeah, he's a motor. He's a motor and a half. Trey Hendrickson is obviously. Throughout the year, I've been trying to bring up cornerbacks and safeties into the conversation. Xavier McKinney comes to mind in Green Bay, and so on and so forth. But Trey Hendrickson, I definitely wanted to give him a shout out because of his Saints ties, and being drafted there. But he's definitely, I guess, the one that got away from the Saints on that viewpoint. But yeah, I feel like he needs his due. I think he should definitely be up there with the TJ Watts and the Myles Garretts of the world.
Yep.
Because last year he wasn't a slouch either in the sack. I'm pretty sure he was top 5 in sacks last year as well. Maybe even top 3. I have to look back to those numbers, but this year leading the league in sacks with 17.5 is no achievement to slouch on. So he for as of right now, he's my pick.
I like the pick. So right now, admittedly, like Jeff said, we had to look up who had the odds for defensive player of the year. So right now, the odds-on favorite is Pat Surtain, followed by TJ Watt. I actually went with who is listed as number 3 on the article that I read, which was Andrew Van Ginkel.
So we just saw him make a play.
Yeah, we saw him make a great tackle. So his stats, let me just read them to you. So he's a middle outside linebacker for Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He's really what I would call like the playmaker on defense. Mm-hmm. So he had 75 tackles. He had 11 and a half sacks. He had 2 touchdowns, both of which were pick sixes.
Yeah,
and forced fumble. So he's a difference maker. He's a playmaker on defense, and I know he won't win it. But he has a history of jumping screen passes. He did it when he was in Miami before. Oh, that's got to be grounding, right?
Is Gibbs there? Yeah, Gibbs was in the area.
He was?
Yeah, 28, right?
Excuse me. Goff just got tackled in the end zone, and he kind of just.
Yeah, they're talking
to me. It looked like he just threw it, and I didn't see Gibbs originally, but.
26.
That I don't know, man. At first glance, I thought for sure that was going to be a safety, but it looks like they're not going to call it.
Yeah.
All right, so they got away with one there, but yeah, he won't win it. But I think he's a real difference maker on this, specifically for what he does for Minnesota as well.
Yeah, and there's nothing to take away from Patrick Surtain because he's been balling out in Denver for like the longest of times. Yeah. I read he makes opposing quarterbacks become the worst quarterback in the league in passer rating. He's only allowed like 30 receptions for 290 yards or something. That's impressive numbers throughout a season, especially in if you're following the number 1 receiver, which he does most of the time.
Yep.
When you're in division with Kansas City, there with Xavier Worthy and his speed. When you face the Jamar Chase against the Bengals, that's impressive. To still have those numbers. So, like, honestly, I'd love for Patrick Surtain to represent the cornerback position and take home that award. But I definitely wanted to give out a shout out to Trey Hendrickson for sure.
Yep.
And Van Inkel is as well as Worthy there for Minnesota.
Yep. So next we got comeback player of the year. And this is interesting because the Associated Press has said that this award should be specifically somebody coming back from injury.
Oof.
But they've already said that like if they receive votes for somebody who that's not the case for, they're still going to accept them.
Right.
But in their minds, this award is designed for somebody who was injured last year, who missed time and is coming back. My pick is actually for somebody who doesn't fall into that category, and it's Sam Darnold. He, to me, is my 1,000% clear-cut, no-brainer comeback player of the year.
Yeah, that's my pick.
Okay.
Sam Darnold is by far and away the it's going to be the big fish in free agency this year.
What a call by you, by the way, like week 3 or 4, about how he was going to get the highest, the most expensive offseason contract.
Yeah. That was, yeah. I mean, I went out on a limb on that one because quarterbacks.
Doesn't look like it right now.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, obviously quarterbacks get the biggest lucrative contracts and whatnot. But Sam Darnold, you look at the free agency class, there wasn't that many standouts. There's a lot of old names there.
Yeah.
So Sam Darnold just looked like a clear-cut favorite to get the biggest deal. And bearing a franchise tag or something, he definitely will.
Even the franchise, dude, you know what he would get franchise for? 42, I think, $43.5 million, something like that. So the dude, either way, the dude's going to get paid.
Yeah. So
good for him. All right. So coach of the year, who do you got?
Kevin O'Connell.
Same. Done. Next. Like it's just so easy, and it goes hand in hand with what we just talked about with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
The clip that went viral this week of him right before he called like the fourth down play against Green Bay last week, where he's in Sam Darnold's ear. He's like, "Hey, step away. Here's what I want you guys. Here's what I want you to tell the guys." And then he goes, "Dude, you're playing a great game. I'm so freaking proud of you." Like that to me is like I want to go play for that dude.
Right.
Like what a guy.
And like I kind of feel
picked.
Jared Goff just got picked inside the 10.
He tried to dump a little screen. He was getting rushed like crazy.
Yeah, 3 guys were around him. So
now Minnesota, I think that might be first and goal, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the 6 or something.
Interesting.
See, the thing with me is like I feel bad for Dan Campbell because I feel like he deserves so much praise and so much notoriety for it. But I feel like he's just, if it didn't happen last year, and it's unfortunate that Stefanski also pulled up a Houdini with the Browns there last year, but usually coach of the year goes to the surprise team. It's not, sometimes it goes to the best team overall, but at that point it would be Andy Reid 5 years consecutive or whatever.
Yeah.
So Kevin O'Connell definitely has his dues, but I definitely want it to be a lot closer than what we say. It's like it's Kevin O'Connell done. Next question. But Dan Campbell definitely deserves his praise.
Yep, agreed. And then I have a feeling we're on the same page with MVP as well.
Yeah,
probably. Josh Allen. Yeah, agreed. He's got to be the MVP. What a year! What a performance. I mean, the Bills would be. I mean, I think they'd be a 5, 6, 7 win team without him.
Yeah, especially coming in this year. And this is one of my biggest regrets is leaving the Bills out of the playoffs in general.
Agreed. That's something that we both got insanely wrong.
Yeah. Losing your star receiver in Stephon Diggs, you almost felt like it's going to be a subtraction, but it ended up being addition by subtraction. Getting that drama and personality out of that locker room. And they found different ways to create a potent offense, whether that's James Cook getting a lot more opportunities in the rushing game, or Josh Allen showing that he doesn't need that star receiver.
Oh, he dropped it.
Yeah, he dropped it. Told you stay away from Justin Jefferson.
You were right. That's right. Dude can't catch.
Well, let me write this in best take now. But yeah, Josh Allen showing that he doesn't need that number one receiver. He can spread the ball out to whoever he wants, and he can make any of those receivers better than what they are. So to me, it's Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson is nothing to take away from him, but he put up impressive numbers. Throwing 4 interceptions throughout the year is would get you an MVP award basically any other year. It just feels like Josh Allen had this tied up for at least
since the Kansas City game.
Yeah, since the KC game. So, like I said, stay away from him.
Dude, he and Darnold are just not on the same page right now.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. Josh Allen.
Agreed. All right. So to wrap up the show, we're going to go over next week's matchups. And like I said, they just released the times of these games as well. So I'll go over them. So I'm just kind of went in order from the AFC to the NFC based on seeding. So first matchup is the 7 seed Denver at the 2 seed Buffalo Bills. And this game will be 1 o'clock on Sunday. I think that you actually I thought they missed that field goal. You actually think this is going to be a better game than I do.
Yeah, I see. The thing with it is, I feel like Bo Nix and that offense is definitely cooking right now.
Yeah. I do think that today was the worst thing that could happen for the Bills.
Yeah.
The way that Denver's offense exploded.
Yeah.
That I think was not good.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously, in terms of offense, I definitely got to give it to the Bills. It's just that Denver's defense is definitely a lot more sneaky good, and I feel like we a lot of people give them credit for. Obviously, Patrick Surtain is part of that defense. Talked about him a little bit. So if Denver's offense is anything like it resembled today, it can definitely give the Bills a run for their money. And this is one of the better defenses I feel like the Bills are going to go up against.
Agreed for sure.
Especially in terms of these other wild card teams, I'm looking at obviously the Steelers, the Chargers. They have good defenses, but I feel like Denver is the most sneaky in terms of those defenses. It's just one of those things where I feel like Denver, if Denver's going to knock them off, they come at the right time because I feel like they're peaking right now. But I don't know. The Bills are definitely a tough matchup for anyone.
Agreed. The Bills defense is my one question mark for them in general. So all right, next matchup, the 6 seed Pittsburgh Steelers at the 3 seed Baltimore Ravens, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. So the primetime game on Saturday, and that's on Prime, by the way.
Yeah,
exclusively on Amazon Prime. So I think this is I hate if my team is in the playoffs or a tournament or whatever, I don't ever want to face somebody in my own division. So I think this is a bad draw for both teams. I think of when Syracuse is in the March Madness tournament. They for years and years and years they were able to surprise teams because of the zone.
Yeah.
But if you play somebody in your conference who you've played before, it didn't
what to expect.
Exactly. And so for me specifically, the Ravens, I think this is a bad draw for them just because up until 2 weeks ago when they finally beat the Steelers, the narrative was that Lamar Jackson cannot beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
So are they going to be able to do it 2 times in a matter of a month? I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously the narrative still is Lamar Jackson disappeared from the playoffs.
Correct.
So that's definitely something else to keep in mind. I mean, obviously, I feel like if anything works out for these two teams, it's the Ravens going up, trending up, and Steelers trending down.
Agreed, 100%.
The Steelers had this division
just 3-4 weeks ago.
Not even a month ago. Yeah. And they've just been spiraling out of control ever since then. Russell Wilson has definitely come back down to earth.
Him and George Pickens do not look like they're on the same page.
George Pickens, that guy's on something right now because he is
that guy's on something.
He is turning into Antonio Brown 2.0.
Seriously.
I'm telling you.
Seriously, there's something in the water in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's going on over there.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That guy's on something.
Well, I saw earlier he had 3 drops and he was fighting with the fans already. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, it's just about the Steelers getting in their own way. I feel like the Steelers are not going to figure it out right now, but the Ravens are. Yeah,
agreed.
I don't want to make my pick yet, but yeah.
All right, and then the last matchup in the AFC is the first game of the weekend, 4:30 on Saturday, and that's going to be the 5 seed Chargers at the 4 seed Houston. What are they called? The Texans. I don't know. I almost just said the Falcons. I don't know. The Houston Falcons. No, the Houston Texans. Chargers at the Texans. What do you like here?
I don't like a lot, to be honest with you.
I think this is a pretty boring game. I think that, I told you, I said this is going to be the 4:30 game on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think I love this matchup for LA.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about it. I think for a few weeks we both have been saying that the Texans were going to be one and done, even as division winners. And I think that this just kind of, you want to talk about trajectory. Like, I feel like the Chargers have been trending up for quite a few weeks.
Yeah.
And Houston really, even before they lost Tank Dell, but especially when they lost Tank Dell, they've kind of just fallen off a cliff. I mean, I know they won today, but who'd they beat? Tennessee, I think it was.
Yeah.
So whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, I mean, Texans scored 2 points against the Ravens.
Yeah.
It was a safety.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
Yeah, it's to
and
me,
the Ravens all year, their defense has been one of their biggest question marks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, the Texans are definitely the pretender here. It's obviously losing Tank Dell is a big loss, but I feel like even if he was still out there, I'd still probably pick the Chargers. CJ Stroud is just taking a step back, maybe even multiple steps back. It's just been that sort of year for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. It just feels like they've been grinding and trying to churn something that just is not there in Houston for whatever reason. Obviously, we were high on Joe Mixon for the longest of the times. You especially.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know where Houston went wrong, or what is not right in their philosophy or whatever. But I feel like the Chargers have more of an identity and more conviction about who they are and what they are and what they're trying to do. Whether that's with J.K. Dobbins or Justin Herbert spreading the ball around. But to me, the Chargers have the superior offense right now. And in terms of defense, Texans are pretty solid defensively, but the Chargers were leading the league in scoring defense until that 1 week, and they might still be. But the Chargers are definitely a better coach team, I feel like.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right, so switching over to the NFC, same thing, just starting in order. The 7 seed Packers are going to be going to Philadelphia, number 2 seed. This game's at 4:30 on Sunday. I don't think this game is going to be particularly good. I'm not high on the Packers right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Love hurt his elbow today. They're saying it was just like a nerve thing where he couldn't grip the football. They're saying he's
funny
fine.
bone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It happened to Josh Allen a few weeks ago. They're saying it's precautionary. I just think, I don't know. Packers surprised me last year against Dallas. It could happen again in the playoffs. But I just think that Philly's too well rounded for what it's worth. They played each other in week 1. Philadelphia won 34-29. Obviously, a ton has changed since then. So
yeah, this feels like one of those games where it's going to be like someone's going to jump out to a very massive lead at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it looks like a high scoring game. But that's because the second team is trying to catch up and just throwing the ball all over the place, and the first team kind of just like lets the pedal off the gas a little bit. But for me, yeah, like you said, I feel like the Eagles are just too well rounded and too much firepower on that offensive scheme, and then their defense has at least been definitely serviceable and causing some chaos with turnovers and whatnot. But the Packers, I mean, if Jordan Love was 100% healthy and he didn't have that little injury scare, maybe he could put up a little bit better of a fight. But I feel like the Packers are, I don't know, maybe they will surprise us. Their record is nothing to slouch at. What they have, 11 wins to end the year. It's nothing to be ashamed of or anything. I feel like the Eagles are definitely, I guess, better suited for this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually two very similar teams stylistically. Like they both, like the Eagles run through Saquon Barkley, the Packers run through Josh Jacobs. No pun intended. Literally, they run like both teams want to dominate on the ground and throw in the pass when they need to.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting, like who can stop the other team's run game is really what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
So, all right. Washington at Tampa Bay. So 6-3. This is the primetime game on Sunday. So 8:30 game. I actually am really excited about this game just because both offenses are electric.
Yeah.
I love Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is my boy, always has been. Wanted the Jets to take him when he got drafted.
Right.
I just love him. I think he's a competitor. And obviously we all know what Jaden Daniels has done this year. Washington, 12 wins.
12 wins for Washington.
It's crazy.
That's
what a performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one award that we didn't talk about was Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, you're right.
And Jane Daniels
that's got to be a no-brainer, right?
That's got to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I feel like Bo Nix is definitely going to put up a little bit of a fight
Yeah.
on that one. But Jane Daniels definitely deserves that award, especially with the record that they have and being in the position that they are, taking the Washington Commanders team that frankly doesn't really impose fear, I guess, into opponents just through their name alone.
There's another fourth down. Sorry, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
Here's another fourth down for Detroit that they did not get. I'm telling you, this is going to happen in the playoffs. I'm telling you. Sorry. Proceed.
No, you're good. But yeah, the Commanders are sneaky team. I feel like they're going to get carried as long as Jane Daniels can throw the ball to Terry McLaurin or whoever they. Who do they have there? Opposing wide receiver besides Terry McLaurin, I forget.
It's a great question.
I have to look at that, but
I know they have Zach Ertz,
tight end, Brian Robinson, Jr. there,
Austin Eckler coming back.
Austin Eckler. So I mean, the Commanders have some weapons there, definitely formidable. It's just, the Bucks are definitely, I guess, a lot more fluid in terms of what they're doing because they know each other. Obviously, Mike Evans got his 11th
They have
straight
experience, which I think is something to be said.
Yeah, especially against a rookie
4 years in a row they've won the division, dating back to Tom Brady. Yeah.
Yep, not surprised there. I mean, Mike Evans got his 11th straight 1,000-yard season,
which is insane. You know, only one other person has ever done that.
Jerry Rice.
Unbelievable company to be in for Mike Evans.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, it's.
I'm really excited about this game.
So am I. I feel like it's going to definitely be high scoring. It's going to be,
and we'll be here.
Competitive.
We'll be here recording next week, probably during it. I would assume
Sunday night.
So that big hit on Sam Darnold.
Get out of here.
All right, and then the last matchup, which is somewhat to be determined. It'll be the loser of this game that's going on right now. So either Minnesota or Detroit, the 5 seed at LA. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the Monday game. So 8:00 Monday. I started doing that a few years ago. I'm not a huge fan of it personally.
Right.
But if you're the Rams, you got to be like, dude, what the freak? We're going to be facing a 14 win team.
Yeah.
And that's the thanks we get. That's the congratulations we get for winning our division.
It should have jumped up to the 3 seed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, they sat Stafford today and they lost. If they had won, they would have had the 3 seed.
Yeah.
So they did it to themselves. But I mean, if you look at this year, but what did I write down here? Detroit beat the Rams week 1. Again, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But the Rams did beat the Vikings week 8. Thursday Night Football. That was really like when the Rams started to put it together.
Yeah.
When Cooper Kupp came back, Puka Nacua came back. They won, I think it was 30-20. So again, that was week 8. A lot has changed. But I think that it's going to be no easy task, regardless of who they have to play.
Yeah, and talking about experience, the Rams definitely have experience, especially there with Stafford.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like whoever wins this game between the Lions and Vikings definitely escapes a bullet with the Rams. I feel like the Rams are definitely a sneaky good team, probably better than we give them credit for. But yeah, if you're the Rams, you're like, well, where did it all go wrong?
Yeah.
It's a bad position to be in, but I feel like the Rams can definitely put up a fight for what they're worth.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, so now we're just going to pick them.
Perfect.
I mean, I beat Jeff in the regular season picks.
Excuse me?
So,
excuse me?
Just wanted to kind of sneak that in there.
I heard you try.
I got waxed this year. Jeff smoked me as we stopped doing that a couple weeks ago because he just crushed me. So now we're gonna do playoff picks.
Yeah,
and we'll keep track of these and see if I can't do
any better
than you. So, well, do you want to just do one by one, game by game?
Yeah.
All right. So Denver at the Bills. Who you got?
I got the Bills winning this. I think their offense is going to prove a little bit too potent for Denver.
Agreed. Pittsburgh at the Ravens. Who do you got?
I got the Ravens.
Same. Okay, so do I. Chargers at Houston.
Chargers.
Yeah, same. 3
I feel like we're going to have the same games.
Yeah. All right. Packers at the Eagles.
Eagles.
I got the Eagles as well. Commanders at Tampa.
I got Tampa.
So do I.
my God.
So do I. So for me, this was the one game that I really struggled with.
Yeah.
And for me, it came down to which defense do I trust more?
Mhm.
And I'm always going to choose Todd Bowles. A Todd Bowles coach defense.
Yeah.
I'm going to have more faith in him to make the stops than I am. Sorry, Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that was what decided it for me.
Yeah. I mean, the Commanders in general, if I don't know, I always reference back, even though it's a long time ago, back to that Cincinnati Commanders game where Cincinnati didn't punt at all, or whatever it was.
That was like week 2 or 3.
Yeah,
super early.
Yeah, super early in the game. And for whatever reason, that game just stuck with me in my head. It's always been an uphill climb for that Commanders defense after that, and I feel like they've had their moments.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like this Bucs offense is definitely trending upwards.
I mean, how many games have the Commanders won like 35-32 or like these last minute like touchdown, these shootouts because their defense is just not.
Yeah, Jane Daniels has built them out a lot.
Yes, agreed. And I don't think that they're going to be able to do that against Tampa. I think their defense, they have a good defense. Todd Bowles is a phenomenal defensive coach.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Tampa.
Perfect.
And then the last one, either Minnesota or Detroit at the Rams.
I got the either or over the Rams.
Same. All right. So we are 6 for 6.
Yeah, 6 for 6.
That makes it easy.
Yep. We're either going to burn together or drive together.
Yep. All right.
Perfect.
I love it. Well, that'll do it for our Week 18 episode. As of right now, it's Detroit 7-3 over the Vikings with a minute to go in the second quarter. So we'll see what happens here.
Yep.
Sneaky thing to pay attention to. Obviously, we have the game muted because we're recording. To me, it looks like Jahmyr Gibbs has not been okay since that hit on Van Ginkel.
Yeah,
or from Van Ginkel, I should say. I'm seeing a lot of Khalif Raymond in at running back. And so that is something to monitor. Have you seen him in since then?
No. They said the replay of that play, and then you saw Jahmyr Gibbs like struggling.
I don't think I've seen him in since that hit. So I'm wondering, and obviously they're already down David Montgomery, like you said. So that could be big going into next week, especially if they don't win. Yeah, and they have to play.
Yeah, because if that's concussion, all of a sudden you got concussion protocol. If that's
ribs, to me it looked like ribs. Yeah.
If it's ribs, cracked ribs, it's tough to play through. Obviously, if you have cracked ribs and then you get hit right in the ribs next week sometime, if they end up losing, you wonder how much of a fumble issue that might cause, because pain is a thing in
100%.
the NFL.
Just ask my boy Mike White.
Mike White. Mike White. Oh, man. But he's the worst quarterback ever.
He's the best. I love Mike White.
Oh, man. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. I mean, it could be just precautionary.
Yeah, and again, we don't. They could have said, "Oh, he's fine." They're just giving him a breath or whatever. But we can't obviously hear that right now. So all right. Well, that'll do it for Week 18. Wild Card Weekend next weekend. I already prepared Christy. I said, "Look, it's the best weekend in football." We are going to have the TV on all day Saturday, all day Sunday, watching football. Just the way that it is.
Perfect.
So looking forward to it, and we will be back to break down Wild Card Weekend and recap most of Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah.
And preview the divisional round.
Yep.
So we will see you next week.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to What Did They Know podcast. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media outlets to see future episode details, and don't forget to send in any questions or topics that you want to see the guys discuss in their weekly episodes to come.